So, with regards to my last video where I basically said that if you don't like it there, maybe you should consider leaving, going somewhere else. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. And in that video, I told you that you're gonna run into naysayers, calling you a coward, saying you're running away from something, saying that you're not patriotic or nationalistic enough, that you don't, you're ungrateful, blah, 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 right? I told you this was going to happen. I've certainly experienced that in my life, and I got at least one comment on that video saying that, this is not a solution. You are wrong and ungrateful. This type of shit. Well, if you can't literally change the way people think, people in your community, to agree with, at least to a certain degree, with the goals that you have in mind for how a community should look, right? If you can't get the people around you to agree with your worldview and treat you like you want to be treated, with you extending that same courtesy to them, how is going somewhere else and changing physically the people that are there around you, how is that not a potential solution? Of course it's a solution. If you can't convince the people around you that your way is the right way, or that they should at least try it, well, why not? How is finding a community that already thinks like you, at least to a degree, and agrees with you on a lot of things, how is that not a solution, right? And if we're talking about freedom of choice, how is telling people what they can and cannot do, what's right or what's wrong, right, without any objective basis for what it is that you're saying? How is pushing your opinion onto others and saying that everything else is wrong because I say so, essentially, right? What does that have to do with freedom, right? Liberty. How are you not contradicting yourself? Acting like, well, you know what the right solution is for everybody, right? That's tyranny. That's literally tyranny. So while you're saying you want to fight against tyranny, at the same time you're saying this is how it has to be done and everybody has to do it my way, right? You're a complete hypocrite. You know what I mean? But this is the problem, isn't it? Everybody thinks that they're right about everything, and anyone who disagrees is wrong and, immoral, or whatever the case may be. That's just a bunch of bullshit, really. So how is encouraging people to literally be free, to go, right, liberate themselves from the brainwashing, some of their worldly possessions that they don't really need, the programming, very oppressive social structure that tends to exist in tight quarters, right? Big cities where there's people literally living on top of people. How is telling people to liberate themselves from that suffocating environment and go out closer to nature and breathe freely, right? Without that mask on their face, for example. How is that not encouraging freedom, fostering freedom? The only way we're going to be able, this is why they're doing this. They're pushing us into these cities and out of the countryside, right? Because that's how we're easier to control this way. So like getting out, how is that not, if you're against tyranny, how is that not a solution? If all of us decided that we want to move at a whim, whenever we feel like it, whenever something doesn't work for us, if we just realize that we actually can do that and we go someplace, how is that but not liberating? When the goal of the globalists is to keep us locked down, right? Keep us in one place. How is moving around, going places not the antithesis of that sort of ideology? right? One of the things that Bertrand Russell suggested we need in this new world, right, in order for everybody to be happy because I say so, was to stop people from moving around, right? To have captive, I think that's the word he used, uh, captive populations, right? Slaves, prisoners, and, well, captive markets is a concept in economics, right? It's just one way of enslaving people, telling you what you can consume, providing you with limited choices, taking away your ability to provide for yourself, produce your own goods, right? Make money, not earn money, make money, right? So you're gonna look, if you don't like where you are for whatever reason, now the problem could be, it could be your problem, I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with you. But I mean, go somewhere else. Why not? People say it's not a solution, but like, we're so happy that we left California. So happy. Is it the best thing we could have done? I don't know. It's what we did, and we're better off now. Much better off. Feel a lot better. I'm more secure about our future being here. Like, it was a great solution for me. Us. But had I listened to all the naysayers, I would be, locked down in California right now. In a big city. Big open air prison. No, thank you. I prefer freedom or a semblance thereof. While all these people are telling you that they need a friend in misery. And look, I've been on here for at least a decade talking to people, you know, in my small little way, doing my part to get people to wake up, open their eyes. But in my day-to-day life, I've been doing this since shortly after 9/11, because that's when it all dawned on me what was happening, where society was headed. And I've taken a lot of heat. I've turned off a lot of people. I've been called all kinds of names, this and that, and gotten a lot more of that online ever since. But, it hadn't stopped me. But you get to a point where you just stop giving a damn about everything and everybody and start looking out for your own well-being and, just yourself, you and yours. You get to a point where you're just going to have to cut off a bunch of zombies because they're never going to get it. What's the point? Of, like, are you insane? Why are you doing the same thing over and over and over, hoping you get a different result? So, like, I've done my part, and I'm still doing it to the best of my ability, but it's not that important to me anymore. But I've done my part, and I didn't really get much in. It's allowed me to figure out my own shit and what I gotta do. But I don't know that the benefits, apart from obviously my own life, I don't know that the benefits outweigh the, I wouldn't call them risks necessarily, because I'm not worried about that. But, the I've alienated so many people. I've been attacked so many different times. It gets to a point where, you don't really want to deal with zombies unless it's, a baseball bat or bullet to the head. Basically, that's, yeah, I'm kind of tired of dealing with zombies. And if they show up here, then, they're dog food, basically. Or I will be. I don't care. Well, I do care, but, So it's this idea that, like, you're somehow wrong to want to do for self, especially since you've tried to get people to agree with your worldview? Look, I told you a long time ago that most people want to be slaves. They might not know it exactly because they've convinced themselves that we abolish slavery, right? Like, it's such nonsense. What do you mean we abolish slavery? There's slaves all over the world, everywhere. At least 2 million in the United States, documented slaves, right? So, what a joke. As they were abolishing slavery in the United States, they were building prisons. And who's in these prisons? Well, the people that were enslaved on farms, whether it be indentured bond servants from Ireland or rednecks today, right? Or black people from the ghetto, Kunta, right? Like it's basically the same kind of demographic, right? Basically. So, whatever, man. But, they deserved it. Just as the people back in the day deserved it, right? Who do you think the slaves were? Not to go on too much of a tangent, but, people who had debts, people who were criminals. Why do you think they were in prisons in Africa and then got taken to, slave plantations in the United States? Because they were enslaved in their own land and they were for sale because they were prisoners, right? Now we could sit here and talk about whether that was just or wasn't just, and it probably wasn't. But I mean, what's so just about going to fucking prison for smoking marijuana, for example, right? Or not paying your parking tickets, or traffic violations. So the world hasn't changed as much as people think it has, and it hasn't changed at all insofar as our moral compass goes. And you know, definitely not with respect to whether or not slavery exists. Of course it does. Don't be retarded. Of course it does. How do you, on the one hand, talk to me about true or not all these enslaved children that are being raped somewhere on the ground or on some island somewhere, while at the same time telling me that we abolished slavery? This is just retarded, man. Anyway, yeah, fuck the naysayers. Fuck the tyrants. Forget about the zombies, man. They're getting called right now, right? It might take 10, 20 years, but, I expect disease to skyrocket in the next couple of decades. All kinds of disease, right? I mean, come on. This should be plenty obvious to people who have their eyes open that this type of thing is going to happen. So, forget those people. They're not going to be around much longer anyway, probably. And if they are, it's not going to be in any kind of coherent state of mind or ability to exist logically or reasonably. I mean, look at the world right now. Most people have no clue how to be coherent anyway. They'll try to convince you of something, right? While within 5 minutes of them presenting their argument, or in that same argument, they're going to contradict themselves, right? Talking about freedom and liberty and how we need to fight for that, but you have to do it exactly as I tell you, right? It's like, really? You're incoherent, right? And this is why it makes sense to shed these people before you catch that disease from them. So, you could be a martyr, I guess, and waste your life trying to educate, convince, brainwash a whole bunch of people who are really a lost cause. Or you could just go somewhere else where people aren't as brainwashed and maybe think more along the lines of your thought process, and go over there and foster that sort of thinking, or a different kind of thinking, right? If the goal is to make us all captives, right? Well, let's start moving around. How is this so difficult? I don't understand. I really don't understand. But people would rather build walls, not realizing, as I've told you a million times before, that the wall has a dual function. It keeps people out, but it also keeps people in. So, keep putting walls around you, just as Israel did, right? And look at what's happening to those people right now. Go see what they're. Just Google it with regards to the Kuf. Go check out what they're doing to those people. Those people have been walling themselves or keeping the bad element out while simultaneously making themselves slaves, right? Because the people on the other side are rebellious and they stand up for what they believe in. They stand up for human rights, so on and so forth. And, you might want to have those people on your side. But no, you put up this big wall and put that element over there, not realizing how you essentially took all the freedom fighters and put them in a fucking cage. And now there's no one fighting for your freedom. And by that token, you made yourself a slave. Why is Biden suggesting we build the wall? Well, why was Hillary? Why was that one of her campaign slogans? Until it became uncool because Trump sold the idea better. But now they're bringing it back slowly, and Biden's talking about building the wall, and Newsweek is telling you it's a good thing. Oh man, dummies. Anyway, you're gonna encounter a lot of naysayers and tyrants telling you what to do, but that's exactly the problem, right? That is exactly the problem. So liberate yourself, if only from mental slavery. And if people are telling you to stay put, well, maybe you should go. You know what I mean? Why not? And insofar as not being able to go here or there because they planed and they boat, and come on, man, you got people traveling all over the world in very, very inventive ways. I was for example, I was taking a cruise ship from Morocco to Spain one time, and they pulled out of the engine room a Moroccan, presumably some African dude, and arrested his ass, right? But how many others slipped through the cracks? I knew a girl back in the day in Chicago who made it from. She was an illegal immigrant, made it from U.S. to Canada in like this in a semi truck, right? I mean, there's all kinds of people hopping borders, swimming across rivers, doing this and that, right? But in order to be able to do these things, well, you have to shed all the baggage, right? Basically, get rid of all these things that are weighing you down. And I'm not saying you even have to do it like that. I mean, so many of you could sell all the shit that you own or most of the stuff that you don't need. Get on a private plane, even a Cessna, and just go. It's not that difficult. Why do you have to take any of the major airliners? For example, why can't you just walk? I mean, I could walk from here to Peru if I wanted to. I mean, there's people moving livestock across the border all the damn time. During the quarantine too, I'm sure. I mean, come on, man. I walked across a certain border one time. It doesn't matter where. And I was perfectly fine. And then I walked back across that same border from one country to the next. No checkpoints, no nothing. I just walked. So the prison is really just, it's all in your head, man. It's all in your head. You got African villagers building airplanes from like broken down cars, various car parts, right? But you can't go from here to there because someone's trying to stick a swab in your nose, make you stay at some hotel somewhere. Come on, man. There's so many different ways to swerve and get around all these statutes. I mean, these are just suggestions. That's all that they are. And most of them are unconstitutional anyway. These are just suggestions. And there are many ways to avoid them. How do you think all the rich people do it? Is it because they're rich? Well, yeah, but they pay for lawyers to figure this shit out for them, to teach them how to do it legally. You could just learn how to do it on your own if you really wanted to. So the prison is really just, it's all in your head. It really is. I'm not saying that TPTB don't make it difficult necessarily, but the difficulty really lies in what they told you you can and cannot do, when in reality the truth is different. So anyone who comes to you or on here and tries to tell me or anybody else what you have to do because that's the only way to do it, they're doing nothing but supporting the current system. Okay? Definitely ideologically. So the incoherence is rife, zombies everywhere. If you don't like it there, just go somewhere else. You could thank me later. Take care.